I want you to think about your five senses for a minute. Touch, taste, sight, hearing, smell. The human body has about 11 million receptors for these senses. Approximately 10 million of those 11 million are dedicated just to sight. As well as that, it's estimated that half of the brain's resources are used on vision. So needless to say, the most powerful of all the five senses by far is your vision. Given that we're more dependent on vision than any other sense, it should come as no surprise that visual cues in our environment are the greatest catalyst for our behaviour and our habits. For this reason, a small change in what you see can lead to a big shift in what you do. This is why your environment is so vital to your weight loss journey, and we're going to talk all about that today. Your weight loss depends on your behaviours, and behaviour is a function of a person in their environment. By sprinkling triggers of bad habits throughout your surroundings, you increase the odds that you'll think about that bad habit throughout the day. And if you're a smoker or addicted to something or overweight, you've probably been told your entire life that it's because you lack self-control. The idea that a little bit of discipline would solve all your problems is deeply embedded in our culture. Recent research, however, shows something different. A study was done on a group of people who had previously showed signs of having tremendous self-control. Their lifestyles were closely followed and analysed by scientists. It turned out these people weren't all that different from people who apparently lacked self-control. People with strong self-discipline and control often excel not because they possess extraordinary willpower, but because they organize their lives to avoid even needing it in the first place. They minimize their exposure to tempting situations, reducing the need for constant self-restraint. They optimize their environment. They've removed visual cues so that they can't be tempted. The people with the best self-control are the ones who need to use it the least. It's easier to practice self-restraint when you don't have to use it very often. So yes, perseverance, grit, and willpower are still important to you on your weight loss journey. They're essential to your success. But the way to improve these qualities is not by wishing you were a more disciplined person, but by creating for yourself a more disciplined environment. Your habits are encoded in your brain. Like the analogy of the skier following the path he's always skied down every day, the tracks become embedded in the snow. So one of your habits might be having a chocolate bar with your coffee every day, for example. Not the most heinous crime in terms of weight loss. You know you can fit chocolate into your day if you want, but you can always make small incremental changes. That's what you should be doing every week. You're not trying to drastically overhaul your whole life overnight, chasing weight loss as quick as possible. You're trying to make tiny incremental changes here and there where you can, implementing new habits, getting rid of old ones. Lots of 1% changes so that your lifestyle and diet will be way different months or a year from now. You don't even have to wait that long to see the benefits. The little changes you make will be contributing towards your weight loss each passing day. So having your chocolate bar with your coffee is just one example of those little habits where someone can make a 1% change. So we'll just use it here as an example. So you make a cup of coffee at home and you usually grab a Kit Kat from the cupboard. You just need chocolate with the coffee, right? I've been there. I was so used to having chocolate with coffee at one point that it just seemed wrong to have coffee on its own. It seemed unsatisfying. In order to complete the coffee, I had to have chocolate on the side. Once having a chocolate bar or biscuit with your coffee has been encoded, the urge to act follows whenever the environmental cues reappear. So whenever coffee appears, chocolate follows. Or you see the chocolate and it's game over. There's nothing in the world stopping you from having that chocolate. Not all the willpower in the world. So how can you change your environment to help get rid of that habit? Well, it's not rocket science, of course. Simply don't have the chocolate bars in the house at all. And it's not enough to hide it in your cupboard, because you know they're there. And then the cupboard itself becomes the visual cue. You see the cupboard, you know the chocolate's there, you reach for the chocolate. But it's not quite that easy, is it? You might say to yourself, I have to have my chocolate with my coffee. It's what I do. It's part of my day. It's part of my ritual. Well, if you're thinking along those lines, you're falling into the trap of thinking your habits are set in stone. Having your chocolate bar or biscuit is just a habit. You weren't born with it. You didn't do it all your life. One day you had a Kit Kat with your coffee, you liked it, so you did it again the next day, and then the next day. All of a sudden, a habit was forming and you didn't even know it. But just like you formed it, you can get rid of it. But here's the thing, you can break a habit, but you're unlikely to forget it. Once the mental grooves of a habit have been carved into your brain, they are nearly impossible to remove entirely, even if they go unused for a long time. So if you don't get rid of the chocolate bars and you just hide them in the cupboard instead and say to yourself, I can resist them just fine. I'm serious about weight loss this time. My motivation is through the roof. And you know, I'd believe you if you said that. And I'd believe that you do have the self-control to not eat the Kit Kats. But they'll get you eventually. Maybe you go a whole week resisting the urge. But one day, you're stressed, or you're tired, or you're hungrier than normal, or your body is craving something sweet, or your hormones are out of whack that day. All it takes is one moment of weakness, and you reach for the Kit Kat. Bam! Your old habit is reinforced again. Simply resisting temptation and backing yourself to resist temptation is an ineffective strategy. It's so hard to maintain a zen attitude in a life filled with interruptions and ups and downs. It takes too much energy, too much willpower. In the short run, you can choose to overpower temptation. In the long run, we become a product of the environment that we live in. Vision is incredibly powerful. Removing visual cues is incredibly powerful for habit change. Remove a single visual cue and the entire habit often fades away. Don't rely on self-control. You may be good at it, but it's a short-term strategy, not a long-term one. Rather than relying on willpower every time you need to make the right choice, it's more effective to focus on optimizing your environment. This is the key to self-control. Make the triggers for your good habits clear and the triggers for your bad habits hidden.